Nice and easy. There you go. There you go. There you go. Keep going. You're good. Okay. Oh, that's good. Whoa. Alright. You may have to, yep, on that side. What's up, everybody? It is Monday and we are back out on a job. I got a really cool video for you guys today, doing some work for TMC and a client of mine. I wish this was my setup, but it's not. But we're gonna hook it up and hopefully maybe get to play around with it a little bit and see what it'll do. So let me show you what we got, what we're doing, what we're hooking up, and hopefully we can get this thing running. And I've had fairly good success with getting excavator heads to run, so we're gonna take a look at what we got and we'll get started. Hopefully this will be kind of educational for you guys too. So if you're buying one of these heads or looking at buying one in the future, you'll know how to set one up and do all the stuff that you need to do. So let's take a look. Okay, so this is not my machine. This is a client of mine. This is his machine. Been doing a lot of work for him over the last few years. Just did a job for him the other day, as a matter of fact, small mulching job. And so this is a Komatsu. It's a PC or MR, what is it, PC? Oh, it's a PC88 MR, whatever that is. Basically, it's an 8-ton machine, about 65 horse. This would be comparable to your Kubota 080 or a Cat 308, something in that kind of ballpark, John Deere 85G or D or whatever they've got now. This is what this is. So we got a TMC Cancela head. This is the THI-100. This is the same exact head that I've got, which is, mine is a THI-75. It's the same exact head, it's just a little bit longer. Where mine is 75 centimeters in width, this is 100. So I think this is like 30, mine's 30 inches and this one's like 38 or 39 inches in cutting width. So that's what we've got here. On the 8-ton size machines, we put the 100s on there, and we've had a lot of really good success with that. So I'm gonna walk you through how to set all this stuff up and do everything. The mount, this is important. The mount was done by our friends over at Rut Manufacturing. They do a lot of stuff with our mounts. I do recommend that if you're buying one of these excavator heads that you go through Rut, because they have a lot of experience setting up these mulching heads for all different kinds of machines. You just have to send in the information for whatever kind of quick coupler you have to them, with some drawings and some measurements and stuff, and then they will do the bracket for you. And the reason I say that is because these excavators, depending on the type and size that you've got, these brackets have to be done at certain heights and angles to make everything work with the hoses and give you enough clearance when you actually roll the mulcher back and forth, when you actuate it off this coupler. We had a dealership the other day that bought one of our THQs, and they didn't want to wait on a coupler, so they just took a set of bucket ears and welded it to the top, and it wasn't enough height or at the right angle, and they were having interference problems. When you would roll the head up like this, roll it back towards this way, it was hitting. And you know, we had to tell them, hey, you know, you can't just weld a set of bucket ears to the top of one of these things. They have to be done in a certain way. So that's why I always recommend you go to Rut. They will hook you up with what you need. So first thing we need to do, I'm going to leave it in the little stand that it's in. That's in the little shipping stand. I don't need to worry about that at the moment. We'll take that off later. The main thing I need to do is measure for these hoses. And I'm going to show you guys how we're going to do that and how I've done it before, and it's worked pretty good. And then we'll go up to the hydraulic shop. Unfortunately, Carolina Hydraulic Hose down in Conway, they packed up and left. They're permanently closed, so I've got to go all the way up to Charlotte, North Carolina, to get hydraulic hoses. So that's like 45 minutes up the road. Yay me. But there's a really good hydraulic shop up there that's got I've dealt with them before when I've worked up that way, so they're pretty good about getting hoses made. So let's show you guys how we're going to do some hoses. All right, so what I do is I've got this handy dandy long flexi tape measure, and what I'm going to do is go right here and try to hook this thing somewhere right in here. Hey sir, can I get your help for just 1 second? Awesome. The operator, he's going to give me a hand for a sec. This works better with 2 people, but you can do it with 1. Can you hold that right there? All right. All right, thank you. So the reason I use this flexi thing is because it actually mimics the way a hose would kind of run, because it's kind of flexible. So I'm gonna run. All right. Down. So that's about right there. If I were to run that hose, so right there, that is 4 feet 6 inches right there. Actually, all right, so what I need to do now, what we need to do, that's at level 4 feet 6 inches. Could probably be a little tighter, but I like to have a little bit of play. 4 feet 6 inches. All right, so what we need to do, I'm gonna crank the machine back up. We're gonna move the head. Now we're going to take another measurement with the head flexed all the way out like that. I want to make sure 48 is still good, or 4 feet 6 inches is still good. And it is, that's 3 feet 9 inches. So I'm good there. Now I'm going to bring it all the way back the other side just to make sure we're good on our clearances. Run that. And that is about 2 feet 9 inches. Now typically you wouldn't need to run the mulcher like this, but sometimes you may get something stuck in here and you may need to roll this out like this to be able to get to something in here, or change teeth, or sharpen something, or whatever, service the head. So you always just want to make sure to check your clearances. Normally you wouldn't be running the head like this, but that's sure that's about 2 feet. That's about 2 feet 9 inches. So get one more measurement, confirm everything. 4 feet 6. Let's make sure everything's good on this side too. Go to that one right there. All right, so I got the K-strain. So this is our pressure side. I got this side's going to be our return, and then it's already got the K-strain plumbed to it. The dealership did that for him. So I'm going to go to the K-strain because it's the furthest away. Just confirm everything's going to connect, because it's got the connection for it is a little bit further down. So I just want to confirm, you don't want to have to make hoses twice. That gets expensive. So 4.6 is a little tight right there. No, 4.6 ought to work. Yeah, maybe 4.7, but give it an extra inch because it's a little over. So yeah, 4.7. Oh, 4.6 ought to work. Yeah. That ought to be fun. Oh wait, no, I'm down here, wrong one. Yeah, 4.6, 4.7. So 4.7 on our K string. Okay, all right. Now we gotta look at our heads, and we need to measure these and see what size they are. Okay, so the dealership has kind of set this up a little bit differently than what I'm used to, but it's not the end of the world. We'll make it work. So they've got females on everything for the auxiliaries. Usually mine is a male over here on the pressure side, and it's a female on the return with a female K-string. But they've got everything set up here as female, which is fine. But I just noticed something here that, and this is why you got to look at your connections really closely if you're doing this on your own and not having a dealer do it. This right here, so I brought 2 hoses with me off of my setup so I could bring them as examples, and I'll give you guys the sizes for these JICs too. When I don't know exactly what they are, but I will get those sizes so you'll know what these are. So these came off my head. This is a 1/2 inch female for the return side, and then that's my K-string. It's a 3/8 inch male. So I'm pretty sure this is the pressure side. It is a 1/2 inch female, so I need a 1/2 inch male on this side to go to that. But over here on this side, and that, I'm guessing on mine, this side's the return, and this is where the K-string is, so I'm assuming this is return. This female is not a 1/2 inch. It's, I believe, a 3/4, but I'm probably gonna pull it and bring it with me just to confirm that. Could be a 5/8, but I think it's a 3/4. And then this K-string is also a 1/2 inch as well. I can put that up to that and see that that's a 1/2 inch. So I need to pull that female to make sure I get the right thing. So I'm gonna take the wrench, we'll pull that off so I bring it with me, so I make sure I get the right male to go in it. I don't want to have to take it back and replace anything. That's a pain in the butt, and I've already got a 45-minute drive, and I want to make sure I get the right stuff. So I got my measurements. It's 4 feet 6 inches for my supply and return, and I got 4 feet 7 inches for my K-string. So let's pull this off and we'll go get some hoses. All right, good news. Well, first of all, I couldn't get the damn thing off anyway, so we're not even gonna try. I took the hammer and the wrench to it and it wouldn't budge. So whoever put that on there meant business. But I did have an old 3/4. This one went bad. And I don't know, I just had it in the truck and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I got an old busted 3/4. So I think this come off the skid steer for one of the, might have been for the mega mower, I forget. But it's a 3/4 because it goes to the ASV. And so it matches. So I know this is 3/4 now, and I know this is a 1/2 and the other one's a 1/2. So we need 2 1/2 inch males and one 3/4 male. So let's go to the hydraulic shop. We got my hoses made. So this one goes, this is my return. So let's start getting this unscrewed. Caps off. All right, now my goal is to disassemble this stand. I got the lines hooked up and I played around with the computer in the machine. I think I've got it on one way, I think. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is remove the door. because he's going to be mulching out here in the middle of nowhere and he doesn't need the door. So we're going to remove the door. I'm going to show you how to do that. I removed the door on mine also, but if you want to keep it, you can too. But pull that out. That out. And we got to pull this out. That might be a different bit. Pull that out. You have to knock the pin or pull the pin. All right, so a couple things. I got the door off and I've got all the lines hooked up. I went in here and played around with the computer, and it has a breaker mode, which is for like a hammer, and like a hammer that you chip rock or concrete with. Anything that runs a hammer is always a one-way flow attachment. And so I've got this set up in here as Mulcher 1 under it. So it has like 4 different breaker settings. So I've got this set up. I changed the name of it to Mulcher 1. And then I turned the valves up there that turns off the flow to the thumb. So there should be no bypass going to the thumb, but we're gonna have to do, he's gonna have to take this, either have mobile service come out here or take this back to the dealer, because see how those valves, those handles stick out? Well, when you're mulching, this side, you know, the sides of the arm and stuff are gonna hit up against trees and branches and stuff like that, and that little valve is gonna get turned back down, no question, to where it's gonna allow flow back to the thumb, and that's what we don't want. So they're gonna have to do something different with that, because that's just not gonna work. Take that handle off or something, I don't know, but that's not gonna work in the long run, but we'll figure that out later. That's an issue with the machine, not necessarily the mulcher itself. So got the door off, got the stand off, and we are gonna try to turn this thing on and see if I can't get it to spin. Okay, got the door off, and came back this morning, and the operator wrapped the hoses for me. I left the wraps here, and he was nice enough to wrap those for me and get those all protected. Big shout out to Zach over at Owen Steel in Myrtle Beach for doing my hoses. Did a great job with all of that yesterday. So had to come back and recheck my measurements. Actually had to go cut these at 5 feet instead of 4.6. So you can see they've got plenty of play in them to be able to. I thought about running them up through the thumb, but I didn't want them. They rub more when they go up through the thumb. They are a little more exposed down here, but they rub inside there a little bit more, and that just ends up causing more problems. So I'm gonna run them. I always run my stuff on the outside of the thumb, but you could run them up in there if you wanted to. But now I'm gonna change out these teeth. So the client, he bought a set of spare teeth. So these have been coming with these knife teeth, but this is a carbide knife tooth. So it has a carbide underfacing right here that they weld on, which makes this tooth very, very durable. But it's not quite as productive because it's not super sharp. It is sharper than your normal like dual maul blunt hammer, carbide hammer, but they're not quite as sharp as these guys. And so actually from the factory, the new shipments will be coming with these stock. So this is a hardened steel tooth that you can actually sharpen, and you sharpen it from the underside right here, and you can just take an angle grinder to this and sharpen it as it wears through the life of the tooth. It doesn't last as long, but it is much more productive. So I'm going to change out these teeth for him really quick as well. What you will need to do that is, I prefer an impact wrench. This is what I got this bad boy for. And you will need a 14mm hex socket is what you will need. So got my Milwaukee and I'll show you guys how to pull these bolts really quick. We'll pull a couple of them and get these teeth changed. Nope. All right, so that just comes out like that. I'm gonna save these teeth for him in case he needs them down the road. So we just unbolt that, take this, put it right up in there, get the bolt started nice and slow, and then I've got this set on the, let me see here, there we go. I've got this on the number 3 setting on this Milwaukee, and then I'm just gonna go until it stops moving. There is a torque spec for this, but I've found that if I use the number 3 and just tighten it up really good, that's not over tightening, and I've never had any of them come loose. And that's good. So, also, oh crap. So a couple of these carbides, you'll see them on the ends, are these side scrapers. You don't want to change those. You want to keep those, or at least I suggest you keep those. So there's one on this side, and there's another one over here on this side. And what this does is it cleans out anything gets stuck in here along that edge in there. That side scraper cleans that out. And then when this edge wears out, you flip it over and then rotate them over each side when you have to flip them. So, and then if you need more of these, we have them in stock. So that's all you do, just unbolt those, impact and a number 14 hex, and so we'll get these teeth changed out, and then all we got to do is tune the head, turn up the check the RPMs, and then turn them up and see what we got. One other quick note is down in here where this bolt goes, there is a washer down in there. So if you take all of the teeth off at one time and you start spinning this head around, you're going to see these little washers fall out. There's a small little washer down in there that needs to go in there that helps keep the bolt down there in place, so don't forget about that as well. Do not take all these teeth off and start spinning the head and lose all your washers in the dirt. All right, so I finally got some answers on some things, and we have figured a few things out here with this Komatsu, which again I'm not super familiar with, but I figured a couple things out. One, I figured out about these handles. So what's going to happen is this handle is supposed to go on there like that. That shuts off, that's shutting off oil to the thumb and sending it all to the mulcher. But if this handle sticks out, you're mulching trees and brush and stuff like that, and this handle is sticking out like that, something's going to hit it and want to do that and shut it off, or open it up actually. And when that opens on either side, it's either, if it opens up on this side, this is the pressure side, it's going to send oil straight to the thumb and slam it down. On the other side, it's going to block the return, and that's just going to build up pressure in the motor, and then you're going to blow out a seal in the motor, you're going to blow up the motor, you're going to have a real problem. So I talked to Komatsu, the service guys. They said I could just take these handles off, so he can just keep one of these little handles in the cab, and then when he wants to turn the mulcher off and go back to the thumb, you just put this whole thing on there like that, and just use it like a wrench and then turn the valve. So that's going to keep that problem from happening. I did confirm that in the computer I've got this thing set up to breaker mode, and I'll show you guys how that wall works. Let me turn this thing on. We'll show you guys all the rigmarole that I had to go through to get this thing set up. Yes, I want to start it in breaker mode. All right, so this thing has one-way and two-way hydraulics. You guys can see that screen. And so we needed it on breaker mode, which is one way. So we go over here to work, tools, and I've got this breaker set up as Mulcher 1. So I went in there and changed it. Yes, yes, breaker mode. Mulcher 1, well crap. Mulcher 1, I've got it set at 25 gallons a minute. So that's what we've got. Yes, I want breaker mode. So I did confirm that that is one way, so I don't have any back pressure on the return side that would cause damage to the motor. And we're running 25 gallons a minute. I can turn it up to 30, but I'm gonna keep it at 25, and we should get really good speed out of that. And then what that will do is that extra 5 gallons will leave a lot more flow for the additional functions, for the boom, the arm and stuff like that, and the swing, and make the machine a lot faster. The other problem that we've got is how to run the mulcher itself as the operator. On my Kubota, I have what's called a detent button, and basically it's the trigger right here on the right hand joystick. I can click that button and the mulcher will run constantly. I just click it, boom, click on, and the mulcher is just going to run. And then when I want to turn it off, I click it again, click, and it turns it off. This one does not have a detent button where it's like constant flow, constant power to the mulcher. You actually have to hold this button. I think it's that one. Is it that one? One of these buttons. Which one is it? This one, yeah. Should be that one. Well, I guess oh, I've got the handle up, that's why it's not working. But yes, it's this button right here. But if you want to run it, you actually have to sit there and hold this button down the entire time to get it to run. And to me, as the operator, that's a stupid thing. But talked to the guys at Linder in Charlotte, and they said you can order an aftermarket joystick that takes like 15 minutes to install, that has the detent button installed in it, that will basically hold that button down for you, so you can just change out the joystick. They said it's really quick. It's an aftermarket thing that the owner can order and they can install in like 15 minutes, so it's not super hard. So about to get it going, aren't you? Yep, we're about to get it. About to get it. So working through a couple of problems, but we've just about got it. Right. So all we got to do now is tune it up and she'll be good to go. So now we have to tune the head to the machine. Now, like on the bigger skid steer heads, the hydraulic motor, like on the big high flow, like the TWF, TWFL, TWJ, those motors, they're piston motors like the one that's in this one, but they have a two-speed. They're two-speed motors. So what happens is when the mulcher starts mulching, you start digging into the material or mulching the material, it has a downshift in it, like a transmission, where it goes from a high gear down to a low gear, and it does that through sensing pressure inside the motor. And what that does is it keeps the motor from stalling out. These, because they're smaller and they're more on the low flow side compared to a big skid steer, where this is doing 20, most of these are doing 25, 26, 28 gallons a minute, where your bigger skid steers are doing 40, 50 gallons a minute. These don't have the two-speed, or the two-speed in there where they downshift, but the RPMs are variable, so we have to set our RPMs in here. So we got to open this thing up. I got to get to the pulley right here so we can set a tachometer on the pulley, and then we got to open this up in here so I can show you guys how to adjust the motor. So you're going to need a number 8 hex, and I got my trusty DeWalt here, and we're going to pull this cover off and get to the belt, and then we'll get in here and get to the motor. There's our pulley. So the belts come pre-tensioned from the factory, and you can see you want a little bit of play, but not too much. And then how you adjust the belt is, I'll go over that with you really quick. As you start running, if the belts get loose or you need to change them, you see there's and you guys can see that there's a carriage bolt right there. So there's 4 carriage bolts that hold this pulley right here. And you can see that gap right there, it's made to slide, and then it's got that jack bolt right there. So you would open this up in here, you would just loosen the nuts on the back side of those carriage bolts. You don't take them off, you just get them loose. And then you adjust this jack bolt right here, and that is what changes the tension. And so it moves this jack bolt, basically moves that up and down. And then once you get your tension where you want it, you just go back in there, tighten your bolts back up on the carriage bolts, or tighten those nuts back up on the carriage bolts, lock everything into place, and then your belt is tensioned. So it's pretty simple. pretty easy. That's how it works on pretty much all the mulchers I've ever dealt with that have these belt styles. It's just a really easy, simple way for anybody to just adjust the belt tension. So now let's get in here and get to the motor. All right, so I've got these side panels open up, this one, and I took the other one off the other side so I can have a little more light. All right, let's see if I can get the GoPro in there. All right, so this little guy right here is a cover. This is a Bosch Rexroth motor, best you can buy. And let me make sure my screen's clean. All right, so this is just a little cover here. We got to pull this cover off, so you'll need a 3/4 inch drive to get that off. And then behind it is going to be a little Allen set screw with a jam nut on it. So we'll pull this off, and this is how you adjust the RPMs on the motor. And then additionally, so what we do here, what TMC does, and this is kind of unique to us, this little guy right here is pretty unique. This is the extension. So what this is on a lot of mulchers, the motor, so the drive shaft that comes out of the motor right here would just go directly to the pulley. But we add an additional extension bearing that takes stress, that torsional stress of this pulling down with this belt. It takes that stress off the bearing inside this motor and gives the motor a much longer life. Because if you blow that bearing out in the motor, I think you have to replace the motor, or it's just going to be really expensive. So this is an additional bearing. And then when you come over here, you see this. So this R right here is for the actual bearing housing down here. Well, actually it's the one on the other side. So you have a grease point here for this bearing. You have this grease point which goes through and goes to that bearing down there, and then this E is for the extension. So it has a grease line that goes to it, and that's how you grease the extension. It's grease filled. So 20 shots on the two bearings here and here, 20 shots of grease every 8 hours, and then this one I believe is 4 shots every 8 hours. So that's what you got to do, or 10 shots every 4 hours. I always do mine 20 shots every 8 hours, so that's the greasing interval. So if people wonder what this E is right here, that's for the extension. So bearing, extension bearing. So let's get this little cover off of here and see what we got. All right, so I got the cover off, but when I pulled it off, it was, let me adjust the GoPro here. It was stuck to the jam nut. You can see the jam nut there. So then you got this little Allen right here, and then you got a jam nut. The jam nut's what locks it in place. So I had to hold that. I had to hold the screw with a set of needle nose to get that off, because it was pulling the Allen out too. So just be mindful of that. But basically what you do is to adjust the RPMs counterclockwise. So out, turning it out increases RPM. Clockwise, turning it in decreases RPM. So I pulled it way out trying to unscrew that cap. So we need to kind of get it back into place and kind of just see where we're at from a base minimum, see what our RPMs are, and then we can adjust from there. All right guys, got the owner here with me. So I put the little sticker on this thing. I have a little digital tachometer, and you got this little reflective sticker you put on the pulley right here. And I just had him run it wide open. And so you just shine a little laser right there onto that as it's spinning, and it tells you what the RPM is. So we're at 1850. We need to get this up to about 2800. So what I'm going to do is take my little Allen right here, and I'm going to turn this set screw in here again. We're going to turn it counterclockwise. I'm going to turn it, I don't know, we'll turn it 5 or 6 times, full turns, and then we'll test it again and see where our RPM is. All right, got her dialed in. The max RPM of these motors for this mulcher is 3,000. I got her dialed in right at 2,800, so we're good to go. So once you get where you want to go with that, with the Allen, you just tighten the little set screw back and then put the cover cap back on, and we'll put the covers back on the sides and over the belt, and she's ready to mulch. So maybe we can find something to mulch. There you go. He's learning. He'll get it. There you go, nice and easy. There it is. Watch those lines, watch the lines. I may have to run those in between the thumb. There it is. Alright, I'm going to show you a little trick. When you get to a big tree like this, you can shave it. Alright, so come down to the bottom, and then go over, and then come up. Like that, yep. There you go. There you go. On bigger trees, you can shave them, but you got to go up. There you go. There you go. Now you can come down on it because you're basically cutting it. You're basically decreasing the diameter. There you go. There you go, go up tall. The more of the tree you can cut while it's standing, the better. There you go. Push that off. Just let it fall. Push it this way. Swing this way. There you go. Now come down. Just let it go to the ground. There you go. Boom. There you go. Red maples are tough.
Now what if I just didn't really want to mulch that up and just knock it over?
You can do that. You just want to get it on the ground?
Yeah.
Alright, then kind of find that, see where it sticks out right there, about 2 feet up. Yeah. Cut it off right there. You gotta let the head come up to full RPM, or close to full RPM, let it spin. And then just ease into it, nice and easy, and let the teeth cut. There you go. especially on these lighter pieces, it's gonna, we call that surfboarding. It's just gonna shoot them out.
I got you.
Yeah, so a lot of times in these branches and stuff, I try to eat them from the backside in.
Yes.
That keeps that on top.
That ground's starting to get soft in there.
To push and move these trees around.
Yeah. I need to order that thing, so then it'll just be wide open.
Yeah, you won't have to sit. Holding that button sucks.
Oh man.
Yeah, I can't even hardly move the joysticks, and yeah, this holding this button thing is not fun. Yeah. The only thing you really have to worry about when you're coming in here dealing with these trees and stuff is the hydraulic lines.
Okay.
And honestly, if you wanted to, we could run them up through here. But I felt like if something ever hit that thumb and this thumb came down, it could pinch the lines or something. And they're gonna rub more in there too. So at least out here, they're not rubbing really on much. And you know, they're gonna have, you know, you'll wear through or something like that. But if you wanted to kind of get them out of your way, if you want to run them up through there, you can.
Break them either way this first go around. So.
If you do, just shut the machine off immediately, and and because that way, it's just going to keep pumping out oil. But the main thing is just you know, just go slow with the trees. And like I said, when you're eating the tree from the more of it you can eat while it's standing, the easier it is to deal with.
Okay.
And then if you eat off the front, it's going to throw more chips, but it'll eat faster. When you eat from the back side, it slows it down more because it's bringing the chips up through the housing in here. So you can do it either way. And then like if you get to a bigger tree, you know, if you've got a good lean to it, you can shave it, and then once you get it about halfway or so through, then you can come down and grind the rest of it. But
all right,
yeah, it just takes some experience, a little bit of playtime. But and then like I said, also too, once you like top it, if you open that face up and cut more parallel with the grain and come across it like that, she'll cut real. You're basically, instead of cutting it perpendicular to the wood, you're shredding it almost parallel to the grains, and it shreds them. You can shred a tree really fast that way too.
awesome.
Yeah, so just play around with it. It'll take you, it took me about 50 hours to kind of get the hang of it when I first started running one on an excavator. So
I'm excited.
yeah, just take some experience. But if you have any problems, just give me a call, or got any questions, you can give me a call. I'll come over here and help you with anything you need.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, man.
You made it too easy. Too good of experience.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I've been doing this for a little bit. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave him to it and get out of here. I hope this video was a little educational for y'all. We got to do a little grinding, and that was fun. Got that set up for him. He's a good friend of mine, been a good client, and just a great family of people. So yeah, that was fun out here getting that hooked up. I learned a lot doing that. I actually hadn't set one of those up myself, to tell you the truth. That was the first time I'd actually set one up on an excavator before. I didn't set the one on mine up, only because my machine didn't have a case drain installed. So when I had the case drain installed, I just told it to go ahead and hook the head up and do all the tuning and everything. So that was my first one that I've ever actually got to hook up and do all the lines and tune and everything. So great learning experience. Hope you guys learned something too. Hooking up excavator heads is a little more to it than hooking up a skid steer, you know, with some of the things you got to have. So yeah, pretty cool. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm gonna get out of here, go get the dog, try to hit up the gym tonight, get off work. I was out here last night till 7 o'clock working on this thing, trying to get it hooked up. So it was a long day yesterday, but got it done. And yeah, he's gonna have some fun with that. And more stuff to come. We got a couple more mulching jobs this week, so stay tuned for that, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye everybody.